Hey, we're Attention Trading, a full-service digital marketing agency that helps small and mid-sized businesses with their strategic marketing efforts. From websites, design, social media, and ads, our goal is to create marketing alignment for our clients. You may not realize it, but the majority of businesses lack a solid marketing strategy and plan. That's where we come in. On this show, we talk with business owners, founders, and marketers to uncover the secrets of their success when it comes to starting and scaling a business. This is the Attention Trading Podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Attention Trading Podcast, where we talk with CEOs, owners, founders, and marketers about how they grow, scale, and operate their business. My name is Max Lowy. I'm here with my co-founder of Attention Trading, Steve Alves. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to today's episode that will pack a punch and bring the heat. We're stepping into the ring with the titan of talent, the maestro of programming, and the playlist powerhouse of the Rumble franchise studios, Andy, the Mayor Stern. As the vice president of talent and programming of Exponential Fitness, Andy dominates the global stage, curating the best in talent and the most electrifying playlists that fuel your workouts. So get your boxing gloves on, because this is going to be a knockout of a conversation that you do not want to miss. Andy, welcome to the Attention Trading Podcast.
Well, you set the bar pretty high there, my friend.
I mean, that's
thank you for the warm intro.
I tried to do you justice. I mean, this is what you do every day. So, for our listeners that don't know who you are, what Rumble is, I'd love for you to just kind of dive right in. Tell us what Rumble is. Go for it.
So, first off, my name is Andy, the Mayor Stern, as Max alluded to. I was a co-creator of Rumble Boxing back in 2016 when we conceptualized this beautiful group fitness boxing studio. So it's we pioneered it in New York City in January of 2017. And I want you to think of it as boxing and strength training to curated music with nightclub light atmosphere, 60 people. So the energy, absolutely electric. And when we launched it, it was just an amazing sort of moment in sort of group fitness time. Boxing was I think, getting its moment, and we were at the right place, right time, with the right vision that bringing boxing to the masses and the people behind it, with just the vision behind it, it worked. We scaled our essential portfolio to 12 stores over 4 or 5 years. Pandemic absolutely crushed us, of course, but we did pivot. We sold the product and the brand to Exponential Fitness, where I later joined and act now as the vice president of programming, essentially experience, talent, and everything. So what I'm in charge of now is scaling Rumble Boxing. And currently we have around 85 to 90 stores open globally, including Australia, Kuwait, Dominican Republic, Mexico. We're about to open Rumble Japan, so I'll be headed out there in a few weeks. So it's absolutely booming over the last 3 years, and I couldn't be more honored to be a part of this brand.
That's some growth. That's it's pretty wild.
It's definitely some growth.
I remember. I mean, I've taken a few classes. I remember my first one in New York, and it is very much, I think, exactly how you explained, that electrifying atmosphere. Everyone is just in there ready to do the work. And I think just the atmosphere that you guys created, the vision it's spot on.
It's a fun place. It really is a fun experience. And for us, to stay authentic to boxing and strength training, to incorporate hip hop and artwork, we really wanted to just create a fun place to be. And that's kind of where we've landed, and it's been awesome to see it grow.
Yeah. So here's a question that I have, because I actually don't know, where did the Mayor come from? Where's that nickname from?
It was a made up concept called Uppercut City, and then somebody just in New York said, "You're the mayor," and it kind of rolled for a long time. But coincidentally enough, in I think 8th grade, I was in a middle school play, and I was Mayor Shin, and my hair cutter at the time used to call me the mayor because I remember getting haircuts and everybody would come in and know who I was. So it sort of has stuck with me
Full circle.
for quite a long time. Yeah. And you never know. Maybe one day it becomes real, and there's a little bit, but for now, it's a made up place.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, it's funny because we, probably most people don't realize your start in the fitness world, at least where I knew you, was before Rumble.
Totally.
And I think it would be good to give some insight of like how you started in the fitness world. Because again, showing where you came from and to where you are now, I think is really, really interesting. And you have a very unique story. But yeah, I remember watching some, curriculum DVDs.
Some weird YouTubes. Yeah, you were around in the heyday. We did an awesome event though at UConn.
We did.
That was a long time ago, but so I mean, if you rewind back to 2010, I'm at Monmouth University studying business, marketing, love sports, love fitness. But at that point, the athletic career has retired, right? I'm focusing on just my studies. Super intimidated, even though I was an athlete, to go to the big box gym. And so I started working out in my dorm room. And at that time, I was an RA, so I was in my dorm room quite a bit. And I was, in good shape. And so residents would ask me what I was doing. And again, I, at that point, didn't love the big box gym, never taken a group fitness class, right? So my whole world of fitness was simply just what I remember from high school gym, right? So lifting weights for baseball practice, wrestling practice, but nothing as if I was going into a studio. So in the right before the spring semester of my senior year or sophomore, senior year, it's a little blurry. I took a class in the basement of Cedar Hall with Jim Pilar, who was the vice president at the time, his trainer from Gold's Gym. Her name was, I believe, Anne or Mary, confusing one of the two, but she was a ball of energy and no glitz, no glamour type of place, right? Bricks, spiders, like just in this awful basement.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're envisioning. And I take this class, I'm like, wow, that was fucking amazing. Like, I just felt so good. And that was, again, my first taste of a group fitness class. I go home that winter break, and I'm like, I could do this. So I had the vision, sort of the light bulb moment. I was like, I want to create a college workout product, and I want to teach college students, and I want to teach Monmouth and do the whole thing. So that winter, got the certification, started writing programming, go to residential life, say I'm going to volunteer 10 times a week to teach this concept at the time, curriculum. Again, my marketing brain was like, how do I just play on college words and created a syllabus of exercises, a cheat sheet of diet. So net, I'm teaching it 10 times a week. A lot of fun, meeting a lot of new people, building the community organically, just promoting it via, conversation. And, we're at the point of like, wow, people really having some great success. The girl lost 38 pounds, I remember, through this product. So I was like, huh. Coming in, I'm about to graduate, and I meet with Professor Buzza, Spring Entrepreneurship Class 2012 needs a concept. At that time, I was like, hey, I'm going to roll into my MBA. I'm going to stay here. And he goes, well, why don't you become an advisor for our class, and we could develop this college workout product into a program, like DVDs, and sell it. Now at this point, right, I'm thinking like Shark Tank. I'm like, I just hit it. Like, this is amazing. And at the time, I'm working at Aramark, doing the thing, just still making money because I'm not making money, and teaching group fitness classes now. So now I'm teaching at some places, getting more experience, really loving the concept of teaching. And we spend that semester building this, from DVDs to the books, the resistance bands, packaging, legal. Monmouth was just fantastic. They were like so in on it, and I was forever grateful for that. Finish up the project, graduate, and now it's essentially mine. So I spent the next 2 years in my parents' house upstairs with 1,000 basically boxes of curriculum, and I'm like, how the hell did you sell this thing, right? Yeah. And social media was definitely coming of the age still. It was 2012, 2013, so not what it is today, but was still very important. Couldn't get my traction, really couldn't figure out how to sell this. Tried bookstores, tried sororities, but at that same time, parallel making money is teaching classes. So
Right.
product not moving. If it is, I'm making a couple bucks. I mean, here, I'll wrap myself out, even to the point I go to the post office. I take the priority boxes, which are supposed to be like you buy the box and, you know, pay their shipping. I take the box. I go home, I wrap the box so that I wasn't buying the box. So if they come for me, I probably owe them a few bucks. But yeah, so you save a buck here.
Smart.
And then if you constitute it as like something, I don't know, a DVD or a book, it was cheaper than a product. So I
Right.
got the cost down for shipping. Net, I spent about 2 or 3 years trying to sell this thing, and it's not moving. At that time, I fall into Orange Theory Fitness, become a head coach there, and I'm teaching 30 plus classes, loving it, but just burning out. At the breaking point there of just tired, making ends meet, substitute teaching in my high school 4 days a week because you can't do 5. I actually applied to be a teacher, had the interview with the principal at my old school, and he's like, I would love to hire you, but you're not a teacher. I was like, just kind of,
Just make it
but I
happen.
couldn't make that happen. Yeah, I was like, you could do just, signature. So then I'm like, all right, let me go back for a doctorate. Let me go physical therapy. I do that for a couple months, amidst teaching, amidst substitute teaching. And I'm like, this is just nerve wracking, right? I'm like, just every day, I'm just scratching my head. How am I going to figure this out? I send one text to a buddy of mine. I'm like, I think I'm just going to open a gym, right? I've got the brains. Got the following. I'll do it locally. He sends a response back saying, Eugene in New York wants to open one too. I know of him. I don't know who he is, but he owns nightlife, catch restaurants, all that stuff. So he's like, why don't you guys talk? So that May 2016, I'm in a Orange Theory conference in Florida, and I call him, and we just start talking. He's like, we have a concept. We want to do this thing called Rumble Boxing. We have a lease signed on 23rd Street, but we don't know what it is, right? We know we want to do group fitness boxing, but we don't have anything else really put together. At that time, I was like, well, I train trainers, I build programs, I know operations. My initial, foot in the door was general manager, and that was to build the concept, build the talent, build the operations, set the standard of what the structure is essentially of this one store. And I was with the right people at the right time because these guys were just visionaries with really just smart, from real estate to brand to operations. And I was fortunate to send that text, I think. And, that obviously led to opening Rumble Boxing.
Awesome. So,
and we're done because that was an amazing story.
And cut.
That's so good. I think a lot of the guests we have, and I think a lot of the stories that get told is they tend to people tend to leave out where things started, right? And your description is perfect, right? Like there's no like I started and I became an immediate success overnight. Like it was hard work. You spent a ton of time doing the thing you thought was going to get you to the point and learning all these skills and kind of, as amalgamation. And then also on top of that, meeting people, which I think is a huge part of this as well. Like growing that base of people in that community. And every podcast we have, that's always the same kind of core thing. It's all about, you cannot do this by yourself. Like it has to be a community of people.
I tried. And honestly, I think that was the first learning. I was like, you can't be the marketer and the accountant and the teacher and, doing the whole thing and the salesman. And I mean, what I'm really leaving out is the amount of pivots I've tried to make, even just that, right? And I think, when we did the event with Max, like, we pivoted more to like a Zumba cardio dance style. And then we were doing this other thing called Swell, students who exercise loving life. So I was trying to make it like a community and less about a product. And like, so you're kind of going through all of these, like, ideas on the board, just throw it, what will stick? And ultimately it really was just like at the core of it all, the goal was always, in my opinion, building community and being in the space itself. So fortunate to land it.
And not fully falling in love. I think people they stick to one thing. They're like, I know this is going to work. This is the thing I'm absolutely going to do. And instead you're like, this is my core belief. I'm going to keep pivoting this one belief until it sticks.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that kind of A/B testing and modification of what you ultimately want this to be was ultimately the success for you. Right.
And I still think college is a market, right? I think they don't have a lot of money, but we saw Peloton try to go after them and Gen Zs, and so I think there's still something there. Their discretionary income is definitely a challenge, so it's a volume play for whatever that is. But I mean, if I still think about the original concept of like, how does P90X fit a college student's lifestyle?
Right.
And I still put that as kind of the pinnacle of the at-home products, right? And it's like, it can't. I mean, you just don't have the time, the money, the nutritional opportunities to do that and obtain those results. So I was like, something's got to be more efficient for that demographic. And if somebody's creative out there and listening to this, like I think the youth need it too, right? I think those that are losing the gym classes and don't like sports, or they want to do some sort of athletic sort of challenge, but on
without
the
being
younger
athletic.
scale.
Like
Yeah.
it's like I've always been a very heavy set guy, right? And I've tried a bunch. I mean, I've had the P90Xs, I've had the Insanities, like, and I still have a DVD of Insanity somewhere around here with that.
Bootleg that.
Right, yeah, we did, right? Well, I mean, we're not telling anybody that. But I mean, I think, and I'm a huge fan of electric yoga. Like, to this
Yep.
day, is one of my favorite events we've ever held. And like, I still think there's a calling for it. But I think the one thing, and personally for me, like, I have a Peloton. I absolutely love my Peloton. But the best thing about it is the gamification from it and the actual, like, I don't feel like I'm working out. So I think there's definitely a market there to get people to sweat and breathe heavy without feeling like they're doing this because it's a job, right? And that's why I think that that Rumble probably works really well in that regard. I think that electric yoga could work immensely in that space. But I think that's the key for that younger demographic.
You got to find what you obviously enjoy doing. And I ultimately think the number one to be successful in this industry from a brand standpoint, you need the talent that can relate and connect to the crowd. Because I'll say it forever, it's not the content that I have at Rumble, right? It's not the squats, the deadlifts, the jab crosses. It's you can get that down the road. And I'm not belittling the curriculum because it's obviously important that it correlates to results. But if there's a genuine connection to that trainer, you're more likely to show up. And that show up piece is the piece that's going to generate the results, not the best 100%. Workout in the world.
So
it has to be that connection where you're like, I want to be with that guy or girl.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I had a question here about, realistically, like at this point, you've inspired thousands of people on their fitness journey. You're inspiring trainers to inspire, your clients and customers and trainees, right? So I guess my question to you, like, how do you stay inspired? What are you doing on a regular basis? Who are you watching or taking notes from that keeps you going?
I think that is a critical piece to always be a student. And fun fact, I work out pretty much every morning. That's my anchor. And it's audiobooks. And it's audiobooks on both business or life motivation, art of storytelling, art of public speaking. So when I try to advance my character, it's one, I always have to level up my education behind the exercises so that I could articulate in a way that's digestible but fun and relatable to the crowd, right? When I talk about the deadlift, I could talk posterior chain and what's connected and all that stuff, but how do you make the deadlift fun so that someone could actually understand it and then want to do it? Yeah. And then on the flip side, the ability to command the class with energy, with body language, with tonality, that always has just resonated with me. And I can connect that dot right away to my passion for pro wrestling, because I mean, there's no greater art of storytelling than a athletic activity that is literally designed to be about a weekly cadence to keep you as the audience engaged to come next week and watch next week. So, when I see the matches are in parallel to what I think the workouts, they are the vehicle and they're very important, but it's when they story tell the match. It's why do I want to watch this match? Who am I cheering for in this match? Same concept with this workout. Why do I want to go to Andy's class? How does Andy make me feel? Beyond like, what is he teaching today? I can't wait for, 5-6 for speed. Like, no, it's what is he going to say that's going to leave me rejuvenated and feel like I can conquer the world. That's the storytelling that hopefully keeps them coming back. And if they don't connect, they're like, oh, it's a good workout. Got a good sweat.
Well, it's funny
They fall off.
because we talk a lot about personal brand. We do a lot of thought leadership, for individuals on the LinkedIn side of things. Mostly, corporate, not as fun as trainers, I guess, right? At a Rumble, but you have created this personal brand for yourself. You are the mayor, right? So of Uppercut City, and so I guess knowing, I mean, and you kind of just said it, but like the importance of that personal brand. Yes, you have it. You've been there from the beginning, but like, how do you help? How do you guide? How do you teach that to your new trainers as you bring on new talent, right? What are some of those suggestions that you're giving your people on a regular basis to get them to feel the ability to not have that imposter syndrome, but to create that strong personal brand that's what people are going to come back for?
And Rumble now around 800 global trainers, historically with obviously terminations and people moving on. We're talking, 12, 1,300 trainers over the course of this lifespan. So there's a list of C's, and spoiler, I'll spoil it here. You're the first two that I can tell you that I'm working on my first course, and this is a big piece to the course, so I get to plug it here. But it is really, in essence, how do you develop a superstar in fitness? And I'll be the first to admit, when we first started Rumble and I was teaching, I was a shell. I wasn't the mayor, right? I wasn't even, in office yet. Couldn't even conceptualize what that meant. It was very much imposter syndrome, like you mentioned. It was, emulating what I was seeing from my team and what they were bringing to the stage. Granted, I had arguably the most years of teaching experience. I wasn't a boxer. I was intimidated by New York City. It is a whole new concept, a whole new brand, and reminding myself that majority of my job was to build the business, not necessarily to teach great classes, but that was my passion. I started with 4 classes, and I earned my way to getting a full schedule and essentially then just taking the talent and education piece under my wheelhouse. But to your point, and it's the most cliche thing, but like the being yourself statement, it was an aha moment for myself when it was just be Andy. Because Andy's the guy that got me to this moment. Like, don't try to emulate what you think New Yorkers want to hear. Don't curse just because you think it sounds cool. Wear what you want to wear. Play what you want to play. Talk how you want to talk. And open the doors so that people can really relate to the character that you are. So the sort of rocket ship for me was just breaking down the facade, letting people in. Like, at that time, my mom was going through cancer and I just lost my dad. So when I started opening up about a little bit in tidbits on stage, the amount of people that could resonate and relate to that, there was just a genuine, authentic connection that developed friendships because there was relatability. Yeah. And that wouldn't have been the case if I wasn't an authentic character. So when I tell people early on, it's just be yourself, but just be larger. Everything you got to be up there is just more exaggerated, right? Like if you watch Jimmy Fallon, right, he doesn't probably laugh like that. I don't know Jimmy Fallon, but I'm sure he doesn't laugh like that when he's with his boys, right? He's bigger. Right. When he's using his hand gestures, he's bigger. He's more animated. And that's essentially what you need to do to your personality so that you can connect to somebody in that room.
Yeah. So that's exaggerated, but still authentic, right? That's the key thing.
Yeah,
right?
You gotta keep it authentic, and I think important to understand when you're starting out, like it's okay to imitate, right? I mean, I think we see it everywhere between athletes imitating the formers, artists, rappers. Everyone imitates, but then you really, I always like to just say like, imitate it and then innovate it, right? So make it your own because the customer, we all as just customers of anything, could smell duplicate. They're like, that's just a knockoff of so-and-so, or they're just trying to be so-and-so, or they sound just like so-and-so. And I think it's okay to a point to take what you like from those that came before you, that paved the way, and then be like, well, I also want to bring in this. I also like to say it like this. I also like to do this. And now all of a sudden you have your own version, but also, learning from those that did it.
Yeah, that makes sense. As far as I guess bringing it back to some like the marketing, the business, the strategy piece of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have had a crazy, I mean, especially from the beginning, tons of celebrities, right? Tons of influential people that didn't just show up, but actually continue to show up. And, like you said, you guys are friends with these people now. Um, was there a strategy play there? Was there influencer marketing concepts that took place earlier on to build the brand to where it is now? Like, what can you give any insights of how you guys got to where you were?
I'd start with these 5 things. So one, we learned the offer, and the offer for us was a BOGO, buy one get one. And the reason why I bring that up because a lot of our competitors were discounting or giving the first one free, and for us it wasn't about the first one; it was about the second one. Because if we understood what they're about to walk into was going to be overwhelming, it was going to be intimidating. There's a lot, and so if we can get them to understand the first one and then come back with more confidence in the second one, make them a little more comfortable, we feel we can connect and grab this as a loyal customer. 2, connections. And again, Eugene being in the hospitality space, the nightlife, the restaurants, definitely a lot from his Rolodex of calling in friends and friends enjoying it, friends bringing friends, and taking care of the right people, essentially, that had the right amount of audience that people wanted to work out next to the celebrities or go to this place because they heard the celebrities went to it. So that, and he really did instill, like, you take care of them, you don't exploit them, you don't make a whole thing about them that they're in there or even in the class. If they want to do it, they'll do it. If they want to post on social media, they'll post on social media. And I think that level of respect was really important to learn because early on, right, again, coming from Jersey, you're in the room with David Beckham or Bieber or any of these celebrities, you're like, picture. You want to because you think, oh my God, once in a lifetime, I want to build my credibility. This looks amazing. But if you think about the longer game, you make them feel like, hey, this is a cool place. Like Tyler Perry used to come to Los Angeles and guy would work out in the back and we'd say what's up. And it wasn't,
It's nothing.
a full blown
And they're
thing.
still
Like,
people, right?
they're
Treat them
humans.
like
They want to
people.
work out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So taking care of them, making sure that they felt good, but also not like people swarming them. 3, digital ads, massive for us early on. I mean, the amount of, just digital we would spend was, I mean, you're talking close to maybe some months $100,000 a month in digital ads. And at that time, 2017, 2018, we were really hyper focused on what the ad was and what we thought at that time. It's definitely matured and evolved, but a lot of shirtless material, great looking people, and was really never about the workout. It was more about the trainers because when we pushed the trainers, people were connected to the trainers, which leads to 4. When we had the team, we were really bought in. And that was, you can't buy that. That was really just a great crew that took class on their off days, posted every picture. They were in the lobby. They were hanging out. They were a part of something that they knew was special. And that internal community was felt on the outside. So now people wanted to be around that group of individuals. And then the 5th one was you guys, the customers. So we really, I don't want to say the first, but one of the first that really put a lot of emphasis on, quote, Instagrammable moments inside the class, in the lobby. I mean, you're talking Biggie statues and Rocky statues and Tupac and Popeye and that amazing artwork from local artists that it gave you as the customer something to post about.
Right.
So it was reversed. You were doing the marketing for us. It was cool for you to post a picture, of Pulp Fiction with those Rumble Fight, and you're like, love this class, at Andrew G. Stern. And what we would do, really good, big shout out to my friend Joe Ferraro. He was probably the king of this in 2017. He would make sure that got reposted with a comment, with a DM back. Like, we built our internal individual brands by directly talking to the customer, thanking them for coming. How was it? What can we do better? That made them feel special. The main pagers reposted them. That makes them feel even more special. And all of a sudden now everyone feels good.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the 5 big ways I think we really succeeded in the marketing strategy.
I think internal buy-in is probably one of the things that we harp a lot, even with a person with our clients, is that we tell them all the time, like, listen, if your employees don't come to the table and are willing to do things with you, then we need to talk about culture, because that's a huge part here. And it sounds like from what you were gathering is that like culture was on point. Like everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, we are here. This is not a job. This is a mission, right? And
Totally.
we're all gonna be a part of this.
And I'll speak to that a little bit because the COVID era definitely changed it. So pre-COVID, a lot of the trainers that were bought in and all excited, I do think and the partners, the founders did a great job with always being transparent about the future, where we're going, the evolution of new stores, second concept, Rumble Juice, collaborations. Like, it always excited us as the trainers to just know that this thing is on fire. But when the pandemic kind of hit and the brand doesn't necessarily have as much juice because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't have all of this excitement. You start to then have to self-bet, right? So a lot of them did go to other brands and Peloton, Tonal, Tempo, individual brands. And they started to realize, like, I need to just make sure I'm still betting on myself and not just on the brand that's going to help build me up. So when we see the doors reopen, not to say you have less commitment, but right now, last December, my study on my trainers, 50% of them were full-time fitness and full-time career-driven. Where if I would have done that study in 2018, I would say it's probably 90% full-time fitness and 10% career-driven. And there's stability, right? There's a lot of uncertainty in fitness. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So that buy-in, it's hard to say go all in, just teach 30 classes a week, and we're going to grow. If you're like, hey, I need a steady paycheck, I want to take vacations, I want benefits, that's hard to sugarcoat, right? Like, a full-time job has that.
And I think I mean, obviously the pandemic changed your brand and the industry to a certain degree, but it changed a lot of brands and industries too. So I think the way that you're pivoting and trying to not even recreate, 'cause the culture's still there, but like rebuild it to a certain degree it's important, because it's a constant battle to remarket. Yeah, you're marketing external, but you're also your job is marketing internal. Realistically, your talent, right? So how do you get everyone on board all the time? I think that's interesting. One thing
I
that
want to add
oh yeah, go ahead.
one thing to that though, Max, because like it's not just about like Max was touching upon, like, how do you keep that internal, but like how do you keep that internal while also expanding? I mean, you were saying before from 5 to what, 85 locations, like
85,
that's a ton of locations. You're talking about 1,500 after attrition of trainers. How do you thread that same kind of ideology and culture with that many locations, that many people?
Totally. I wouldn't be authentic or honest if I said it was the same as 2018, right? I think everyone has the nostalgia with the rose petal classes. That era, the legacy era, was fantastic. We had an amazing time. But when you scale at this level, you need different systems, you need different standards, you need to understand you're opening in markets that have different clientele. So you need different marketing. You need a different strategy behind your programming, even your music. So I think it's important to understand you could scale a cool brand pretty easily, because I think, not to say the word cool scales easily, but I think a brand coming out there that's group fitness boxing with hip hop and artwork is, oh, that sounds cool, right? I'll air quote it. But when you kind of get into scaling the skill of culture, hospitality, how to teach boxing and strength training simultaneously at this pace, at the speed that we're opening, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
You could open up these stores in the middle of, the country, and you can start to say, like, all of these celebrities have come historically, like, this is why it's so great. But if you could really scale the right people, then you're on to something magical. And finding the right talent, taking care of the right talent, that's the ingredient to, in my opinion, the success of the studio. Because once you have the right operators in place, the right standards in place, the right systems in place, you can start to generate the buzz in the community. But if you're kind of fluttering on, it was cool in 2018 and you're living on that, it's 2024, right? You've got to evolve or you perish.
Yeah.
So well spoken.
It's it's funny because I don't even know where I heard you say this somewhere years ago. It could have been on an Instagram post. It could have been in a class. I don't even know, but I use it all the time, and you probably don't even know it. Like, do it again. Let's do it. Like, do it again. Do it better. Do it again. Do it better. Right? I use it all the time, and that's exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, you did it really well in 2018. Let's do it again, and let's continue to do it better in 2024, 2025. So it makes a lot of sense. One question I have, because earlier on you talked about, before when you were at Orange Theory back in the day, you were teaching a lot and you were burning out a little bit. So like now, knowing your personal life a little bit, you have your wife, you have your daughter, that work-life balance, right? Like, what does that look like for you? You're traveling, you're going to Japan next month, right? Like you're doing a lot. So how do you stay grounded in that sense and finding that balance?
It's I think the best word to pair boundaries with or balance with is boundaries. You got to really set them. You got to honor them because no one's going to respect them. No employer will ever respect them. And I think in this culture of while everything's glued to your phone, it's expected or anticipated that you're going to answer. You're going to check your emails. But if you set the boundary, and I drive this home to my team, my team, if you take off, we joke about it, but we do it. We'll kick you out of the group chat. And hey, when you're back, I'll add you. And if you missed anything, I'll let you know. Because that simple like anxiety of reading something, even though you're off, air quote, you're not off. You're not letting this thing actually reset and recharge. So it's a very hard boundary to decide. Like you and everyone that's listening has to decide what is the boundary. Do you 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock? Is it 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Like whatever the boundary is, that's it. And then you have to defend that damn thing, and you've got to, because like I said, everyone's going to try to, hey, do you got a second? Can I call you real quick? You got a minute? That you compound that's 5 minutes. That's 22 minutes. Now we're an hour. Now I just lost the 1 hour I was going to spend with Presley or the 1 hour I was going to have dinner with Julia because I gave up because of you.
Right.
And I let down my boundary where I could have said, hey, cool, I got tomorrow between 11 and 12.
Well, and for you, it probably is even trickier because Julia has her personal brand in the brand as well. And so you guys are just...
It's tricky. And especially because the parent company, Exponential, is West Coast, right? So I am respectful of, if I have the flexibility to work from home, which is amazing and I'm very fortunate, I do have to respect that, hey, I'm going to have meetings some nights at 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m., 8 p.m. because it's only 4:30 over there. So, there's patience there. Got to accept it. There's not going to be a meeting at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock because it's too early there. So it's balancing for me. That's my morning time to get things done, to do what I need to do. And then it's, buckle down and it's work time. So again, creating my own boundaries was super important. And I think early on, I didn't have that. No way. And I think I said, and most trainers will fall into the same bucket as what I did. I said yes to every sub, said yes to every event. And I can't be mad at it because it got me to where I am. But in the same breath, could I have performed better if I just said no to some things? And I need to reset. I got to recharge. I could teach a better class if I take tomorrow off, as opposed to, Rachel needs a sub. I'm going to jump in and be the hero. It's another $100. And now I'm like, day 23, still teaching. And now my voice gets shot and my body gets shot. And that's the business of, chasing the short-term buck. But in the business of hustle, it's not very pretty when you're like, oh, I got to make that because I'm going away in a week.
Right.
That goes full circle to why people do go more stable on their careers and do this as a passion project.
I have a random like personal question when it comes to being a trainer. How on God's green earth can you work out every morning and then do classes and still be like high energy, like all about it, like pushing yourself? Like I can't imagine working out 3 times a day and still be like, all right, let's have dinner with our kids. Like how is that possible?
It's definitely, you prepare to fail, fail to prepare quote. It's, you got to fuel yourself properly because it is definitely the gasoline. But it really is something I've said this in an Instagram post a long time ago. A lot of days it feels like my battery's on E, right? Like the red sign and I'm like low power mode. And then I'll put that headset on and I don't want to take it off. Like it's like the client's energy just juiced that damn thing right back up to full. And it's like, if I stand on that stage knowing that I'm going through whatever I'm going through, tired, long days, Zooms, didn't get a lot of sleep, if I just remember what that person in the room has something going on, right? Like they dedicated this time. They spent their money. I got to give them everything I've got. And it might not be everything that I ever have, but it's everything that I got in that moment because that's what they deserve. And if I'm just like, oh, I'm hungover, I'm tired, you're going to get half of Andy Stern. That's just disrespectful, not even just to me, but to the brand, to every trainer that's ever taught before me. It's like we owe it to them because they're keeping these lights on.
Yeah.
They're going through shit that we don't understand. So we're here for you. So
that's commitment, man. That's great. I think that parallels to a lot of like brands. Like we tell everybody all the time, like, listen, like you're providing a product, you got to give everything you got. You have to. Because people will, they want, when they pay for the right thing, they want to get the result they paid for. And that's so much.
100%. And you said, we're in the hospitality business.
Yeah.
This business for fitness, anyone listening, if they didn't know it, you're in the hospitality and entertainment business. And people think, I want to work in fitness. And I would say, like, how do you take care of people? Right? Like, how do you greet people? And that's everything. It goes back to the connection piece, but that is the recipe for us to be successful. It's taking care of the people. And it starts with understanding it's hospitality and it's entertainment, not fitness.
Yeah. Brand loyalty it's super tricky right now, more than ever.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think it's those really small moments that I think make a really big difference for people, especially in the space that you're in. You just said like how you say hi to someone when they walk in that door, that can make or break everything, like that entire experience. And a lot of brands, let
me ask you guys this, right? Like you work, you have families, like where do you get seen? Right? Like the physical act of being seen, right? In perspective of home, we all have a laundry list of things to do. Yeah. So we're always kind of like managing each other, delegating each other. Like, why didn't you do this? Why did you do this? Got to do this. It's like a to-do list of life. And then you go to work, it's essentially the same unless, if you got a great boss that's recognizing the good stuff, great. But for the most part, you've seen when something's wrong. So now you're like, not really seen at home. I'm not really seen at work. Maybe you're part of a community group, church, something like that. Awesome. But maybe they meet once a week. In my opinion, the fitness space is where people get seen and why people come to it. Because if I could see you, Max, and I could love the outfit, how was your vacation, how's your family, how's business, and now all of a sudden you're like, wow, like someone's asking me, like, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, hello, no one's asked me that in 4 years. Like, this is weird, but it makes people feel
such a simple thing to do for somebody, right? Just that little. I say this all the time. Like we should make the most memorable moments for everybody we can at every time because people remember moments. So like if you can just give them that sense of feeling and foundation, they're like, I'm never gonna forget that, right? Moments, and that's you have a fan for life.
Moments and feelings. That is one of the chapters of the book. Is the course is moments and feelings. Like your job, and it goes parallel to again wrestling. I don't remember an entire wrestling match. Right? If I watched Rock in Austin in '99, I remember a moment. And I remember the feeling that moment created for me as a kid. And I'm like, you just get galvanized by the moment and how that feeling, just like music, right? If you listen to songs, like the songs are irrelevant, but you remember the feeling that it caused when you listen to it on the way to school. So when I say to my trainers in class, I'm like, just if you could create a moment, and the moment doesn't need to be like, Tony Robbins, like, burpee knee tucks and go crazy with crazy. Like, it could simply be holding the bag or encouraging Max's bicep curls or like making someone feel seen. That's a moment that creates the feeling. So it doesn't need to be the show to be something special.
100%. 100%.
Man, I feel. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I wanted to ask you really quick because we keep on touching upon hospitality, and Max and I last summer or last fall read what was it, Max? Unreasonable Hospitality.
Great book,
right?
Fantastic,
amazing book. Like
one
we
of my
both
top
were like,
audiobooks.
oh,
100%.
so. And I was going to ask you had read it because like we read it, we were like I suggested to everybody, literally everybody. I just wanted to ask whether you had read it or not because the way he wrote that, the way it was presented, like I was so hyped about everything that he was talking about. I'm like, oh, this is so good.
It helped definitely. Yeah, I've always wanted to do the course, but when I recognized one of his arts was the story, the connection, and then the lesson, and it's like to me, I'm like, damn, like that's how you connect the dots. Like I remember the customer with the big chair, the large. I'm like, that's unreasonable hospitality.
Right.
I brought it up to my staff. I'm like, if you got a tall client, make a spot better for them in some capacity. Like I don't care what the hell you do,
just do it.
Figure it out and do it, because if you make them feel good, they're gonna come back. And I mean, that book has just gem after gem of lessons.
It's funny awesome. Because in what we do every day, we're we talk to a lot of businesses, we consult, we do, and we handle a lot of their marketing, but like we try to figure out ways that we can be creating those moments because it's a little different, right? Like we're not in front of someone, we don't have a product. So we try to stay as creative as possible and create some kind of experience that people will remember us by. Give them those warm and fuzzies. I know, Steve, you love that saying. Like, how do we get people to feel what we want them to feel when we want them to feel it? It's so important, and it's really hard. It's not easy.
Very hard. I'm listening to 2 ones on the topics of books. I'm halfway through Gary Vee's new one, and I just wrapped up 50 Cent's book actually from a while back. Really enlightening. Never had that perspective on him as a businessman. And I mean, again, goes back to connecting dots. He has dinner with Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is speaking super soft, and 50 picks up on it. Big loud dinner. Later, he's having a cigar with him, and he's asking why he talks like that, because now he's talking normal. And he's like, well, if I speak soft, it's forcing them to listen to me, and it's going to weed out a lot of the noise. And I'm like,
so
intentional. It's like these small gems. Yeah, exactly. And he does that. I mean, I don't want to spoil the whole book because he articulates better than, of course, I can. But I mean, how he penetrated the streets with his mixtape on purpose when other rappers and artists were like, no, they're stealing from us. He's like, I got to get known. Like, this is how I'm going to get out. So he, by design, his marketing plan was, we're going to push this thing to the bootleggers, to the streets.
Right.
And I'm like, hello.
Just thinking different.
I mean, he goes on and on about it. Water, his lack of liquor, everything that he's done. Very intentional marketing.
Yeah.
And I think because you mentioned Gary Vee as well, and I think Max and I have been following Gary Vee since 2006, like even earlier, right? And huge fans of his work. And I think one of the biggest things that we always say to people is like, as marketers, right? I'm a developer and designer by trade, and we're marketers in general. And people are like, well, what's the secret sauce? I'm like, I will tell you the answer all day long. All the time. Like what's our secret sauce? Here you go, here it is. And the people are like, well, why would you do that? And we're like, there's a difference between telling you about it and you being able to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, while 50 is giving away all this information, like people are stealing from him. This stuff is not easy. So like, if anything, if I can provide you as much value as humanly possible, and hopefully you can execute on that. That'd be great. But when you can't execute on that, like let's talk about that, right? Because I can
100%.
help you in
It's
that.
like
So
recipe. Here's the recipe. You still can't cook it.
right,
And people are always like, "Oh, Rumble has got knockoffs." I'm like, "Yeah, again, they have the recipe, but they're not going to cook the same thing. They're not going to
100%.
understand." Like we used to say, if they're copying us today, that, and it's still true to this today. If they're copying us today, they're not copying what we're developing, right? They're copying the past. It's always that evolution that's important. But yeah, I mean, you're spot on with. I will give you everything I know. It's still not going to make it happen unless you make it happen.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I feel like we could talk for a lot longer, but I don't want to take up too much time. I want to, honestly, I just want to thank you for being here and giving some insights, telling your story, talking through your journey. I think, again, it's one that is really inspiring. Again, I've known you from, from the beginning stages,
Long
and
time.
just watching your success from the sidelines has been really, really fun. Now watching, you be a father is even more fun for me. Being a father,
Wait, I'm going to cut you off and because my wife and I praise you and your ability to travel. It's mind blowing.
Superman.
We like to travel, and so the kids travel. So it's funny because I was talking to Julia like 2 weeks ago about Japan. I was like, you got to go here and you got to go here. So yeah, no, I think
sometimes it's hard for us to go to the grocery store, and this guy's traveling, country to country.
It's not easy. It's it's finding that balance, right? It's figuring out what kind of makes you happy. That being said, I am in New Jersey right now, so we are
Nice.
back here for the time being. But yeah, no, honestly, Andy, this was awesome. This was really, really cool. We're
Thanks for
excited to
having
share this with our listeners. So thank you. If anyone wants to follow you, follow Rumble, where should they go and look?
At Andrew G. Stern, pretty much on everything, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And then we have our Do You Rumble page, but also every local market has their own Instagram. So there's a lot out there, but our Do You Rumble is our main page. Love to connect and love to get the gloves on you guys as well. So hopefully we could get a class on the calendar.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Andy. And until next time, we will see you soon.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening. Feel free to reach out to us for all things marketing at attentiontrading.com.